welcome to our story lesson. I'm so excited to go through this presentation with you because it's one of my favorites. The learning objective of this lesson is to find out the elements of traditional tales. This means that we want to know what exactly makes a story a traditional tale. What do we look for when we read in a story that makes it a traditional tale? Is it the characters? Is it the setting? What makes a story a traditional tale? Well, we're going to find out together. So let's go to the presentation now. Usually we've read about Pinocchio. I'm sure you've heard about Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Jack and the Beanstalk, the Gingerbread Man, Rapunzel, the Ugly Duckling, Sleeping Beauty. These are all traditional tales or classical tales. What makes these stories traditional tales? What do they have in common? Usually they all begin with once upon a time. So you find out that they happened a long time ago. A long time ago when we didn't have cars, we didn't have bicycles, and people usually moved around on horses, and they usually had farms. So they grew their own food. They didn't go to the supermarket to buy food, and they didn't go to shops to buy food, but they usually grew their own food or bought them in the marketplace. The next thing we'll discuss is the setting, a place where a traditional tale happens. Usually you find out that this happens in the forest, in the woods. Sometimes it happens in a magnificent castle. Sometimes it's in a little cottage or in a house somewhere in the town or in a country or in the woods again. And sometimes it's in a faraway kingdom. The next element is the characters that are in the story, the people or animals or creatures in the story. Of course, you have princesses, you'll have a prince, there will be a king, a queen, a frog, because sometimes you have animals, swans, even gingerbread. Now let's go to mythical characters. Now in fairy tales, you have characters that are not real and are usually imagined, and you will often find these in traditional tales. You can have unicorns or horses that fly. There are gargoyles, trolls, dragons, ogres. Can you think of any other mythical characters that might appear in traditional tales? Yes, you can have pixies and of course fairies. Now because many traditional tales have fairies in them, we often call traditional tales fairy tales because there's usually a fairy that does something in it. And that brings us to the next element of fairy tales, is there's always some kind of magic involved. So when we speak about magic, you usually have a wicked witch, like in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, there was a wicked witch. They'll have their pot or their cauldron where they're brewing some kind of potion or spell. You will have some fairy dust. For example, Peter Pan and Wendy had fairy dust that helped them to fly. And of course, you have the good fairy with their nice, good magic. Now, in the end, it's always happily ever after. So the good always triumphs over evil. The characters who are meant to be together end up together. They're happy. And so the story will usually end with, they lived happily ever after. And so we have parties, celebrations, and that's the end of the story. And I love fairy tales. So what is your task for today? I want you to think about 3 of your favorite stories. And let's think about if these stories are traditional tales. Sometimes your favorite stories might be a more recent story, like Cars, for example, with Lightning McQueen. Do you think that's a fairy tale or a traditional tale? So that is your task. Think about 3 of your favorite stories and try to find out if they are traditional tales or not. And then record your answer in a video and send to your teacher. Let's recap again. We've gone over the elements of traditional tales. We've tried to find out what exactly makes a story a traditional tale. We've discussed the setting, the time, the people or characters in the story. There's some element of magic involved, and it usually ends with happily ever after. Your task is to think of your 3 favorite stories and determine if they are fairy tales, traditional tales, or if they are not traditional tales. Send this in a video to your teacher. Excited to see what you find out. See you later. Bye-bye.